He is a professional athlete in one of the most prestigious sports in the world. He's made it to the pinnacle of his field, competing against the best of the best. He's driving the fastest cars on Earth, pushing the limits of human engineering and his own reflexes. But he has never won a single race. In fact, he's never even scored a point. Not one in his entire career. How is that even possible? How could someone reach the highest level of motorsport and fail so spectacularly? Well, that's the case of Nikita Mazepin, arguably the worst Formula 1 driver of all time. Formula 1 is the creme de la creme of motorsport. It's where the fastest cars and the most skilled drivers come together to create a spectacle of speed and technology. We're talking about machines that can go from 0 to 100 miles per hour in less than 4 seconds, pulling G-forces that would make fighter pilots wince. So, to make it to F1, you need to be exceptional. You need to have risen through the ranks of karting, Formula 3, Formula 2, showcasing your skills at every level. Or do you? Enter Nikita Mazepin. Born on March 2nd, 1999 in Moscow, Russia, Mazepin always had everything he wanted at his disposal. His father, Dmitry Mazepin, is a Russian oligarch and billionaire businessman. And by billionaire, I mean it. His dad is worth an estimated $1,300,000,000. Now, the thing is that having a wealthy dad doesn't automatically make you a good driver, but it sure can open some doors that might otherwise remain closed. In short, Nikita Mazepin's entry into F1 came with a very, very big check, but we'll get into those details later. We have to be honest, and Mazepin's journey to F1 wasn't entirely without merit. He had some success in the lower formulae, particularly in GP3, now known as Formula 3, where he finished second in the championship in 2018, but his path to the top tier of motorsport was, let's say, unconventional. In 2021, Mazepin secured a seat with the Haas F1 team. Now, Haas isn't exactly a powerhouse in F1. They're often found at the back of the grid, struggling to compete with the big budget teams. But for a rookie driver, any seat in F1 is a golden opportunity. So how did Mazepin's F1 debut go? Well, it was certainly memorable, but not in the way he would have hoped. In the very first race of the 2021 season, the Bahrain Grand Prix, Mazepin spun out and crashed on the third turn of the first lap. His entire debut race lasted less than a minute. It was a baptism by fire, or rather a baptism by gravel trap. Sure, every driver has bad days, even the greats have had embarrassing moments, but for Mazepin, this wasn't just a bad day, it was the start of a trend. Throughout the 2021 season, Mazepin consistently finished at the back of the pack. In fact, out of 22 race entries, he finished last among the cars that completed the race in all but 2 sessions. And we're not just talking about races here, this includes practice sessions and qualifying too. Let's put that into perspective. Imagine if a basketball player missed every single shot they took, not just in games but in practice too. Or if a soccer player couldn't even hit the goal during warm-ups. That's essentially what Mazepin was doing in F1. But wait, it gets better. Or worse, depending on your perspective. In the Spanish Grand Prix, Mazepin finished almost 3.5 seconds off the leader's pace in practice. Now, 3.5 seconds might not sound like much in everyday life, but in F1, it's an eternity. It's the difference between first place and, well, not even being in the same race. But surely you might think, this must be because of the car, right? After all, Haas isn't known for building the fastest machines on the grid. Well, here's where things get really interesting. Mazepin's teammate in 2021 was Mick Schumacher. Yep, the son of the legendary Michael Schumacher. Now, Mick was also a rookie, also driving the same underperforming Haas car. But the difference in their performances was huge, night and day. Schumacher consistently outperformed Mazepin. He was faster in qualifying, finished higher in races, and generally looked more comfortable in the car. In fact, there were times when Schumacher was a full second faster than Mazepin in the same car. This brings us to an important point in our story. In F1, your primary benchmark is always your teammate. They have the same car, the same resources, the same opportunities. So when one driver is consistently outperforming the other to this degree, it's hard to blame it all on the machinery. So Mazepin's struggles were just about being slow? Oh no. That would be too simple. Throughout the season, Mazepin became known for his on-track antics. He was frequently accused of ignoring blue flags, signals for slower cars to let faster ones pass, blocking other drivers, and generally being a hazard on the track. In the Portuguese Grand Prix, he was given a 5-second penalty for ignoring blue flags and blocking Sergio Perez. In Baku, he nearly caused a high-speed collision with his teammate. And in Monaco, well, let's just say he didn't exactly cover himself in glory. Mazepin's driving style earned him the nickname Mazespin among fans, a nod to his frequent on-track rotations. It got to the point where other drivers were openly complaining about him, questioning whether he was safe to be on the track. Now, at this point you might be wondering, how did this guy keep his seat? Why didn't the team replace him with someone, well, better? Remember that wealthy father we mentioned earlier? Well, it turns out that Dmitry Mazepin's company, Uralkali, was the main sponsor of the Haas F1 team. In the world of F1, where running a team can cost hundreds of millions of dollars per year, that kind of financial backing is hard to turn down. This brings us to the concept of the pay driver in F1. It's not a new phenomenon. Throughout the sport's history, there have been drivers who have secured their seats more through financial backing than pure talent. But Mazepin might just be the most extreme example we've seen in the modern era. Now, it's worth noting that Mazepin's F1 career was short-lived. Following Russia's invasion of Ukraine in 2022, Haas terminated both Mazepin's contract and Uralkali sponsorship. His entire F1 career lasted just one season. But what a season it was! Let's recap some of Nikita Mazepin's achievements in F1. He finished last or second to last in nearly every session he participated in. He was consistently outperformed by his rookie teammate. He earned 0 championship points. He never finished on the lead lap of any race. He crashed out of his very first F1 race on the first lap. And he earned penalties and criticism from other drivers for dangerous driving. Wow, that's a career. But, to be fair with him, Mazepin did manage one notable achievement in his F1 career. At the 2021 Belgian Grand Prix, which was infamously cut short due to heavy rain, Mazepin technically recorded the fastest lap of the race. How, you ask? Well, the race only lasted 2 laps behind the safety car, and on the second lap, Mazepin happened to go slightly faster than anyone else. Of course, because the race was suspended after that, his fastest lap didn't actually count in the official results. Even when he succeeded, he failed. Now, it's easy to laugh at Mazepin's misfortunes, to paint him as a caricature of the spoiled rich kid who bought his way into the F1. But it's worth remembering that even to get to F1, regardless of financial backing, requires a level of skill that most of us can hardly comprehend. Mazepin had shown promise in the junior categories. He finished second in the GP3 series in 2018, winning 4 races. That's not something you achieve without some serious talent. So we have to ask, what the heck went wrong? How did a driver who showed potential in the lower categories end up performing so poorly in F1? Maybe the pressure, the F1 itself? The cars are faster, more complex, and more physically demanding to drive than anything in the junior categories. And sure, the Haas car in 2021 was arguably the worst on the grid. Even a more experienced driver would have struggled to extract performance from it. But even taking all of these factors into account, Mazepin's performance was still notably poor. When you're consistently seconds slower than your teammate in the same car, it's hard to blame it all on external factors. So, is Nikita Mazepin truly the worst F1 driver of all time? It's a bold claim and one that's hard to definitively prove. F1 has seen its fair share of underwhelming drivers over its 70+ year history. There was Yuji Ide, who lost his super license, essentially his permission to race in the F1 after just 4 races due to dangerous driving, or Taki Inoue, who was once hit by a course car while his own car was being towed, or Pastor Maldonado, who became more famous for his crashes than his single race win. But what sets Mazepin apart, even if it's something negative, is the combination of his consistently poor performances, his inability to match his teammate, and the stark contrast between his junior career and his F1 results. So even with all the money in the world, even with a seat in the fastest racing series on Earth, success is never guaranteed. F1 is not just about having a fast car or a wealthy backer. It requires skill, adaptability, mental toughness, and a whole lot of luck. Mazepin's story is one for the history books, a performance that stands out for all the wrong reasons. This has been the worst Formula 1 driver of all time, and I'll see you in the next video. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and let us know in the comments, who do you think is the worst F1 driver of all time? Until next time.